Terraria, a fun little 2D Minecraft game without much of a story, right? Wrong! How would you feel if I told you that Terraria had one of gaming's deepest, most expansive storylines hiding behind its facade of crafting, base building and boss fights? How would you feel if I told you the game itself is only Act 3 in this tale for the ages? How would you feel if I told you that you weren't even the true hero of Terraria?
Hello, my honey. Hello, my rack.
First things first, we need to take a look at the world we're in and the terrible nightmares that inhabit it. It's clear that the game is inspired by the Lovecraft mythos, what with having the iron brain of Cthulhu, and even a final boss fight that resembles a cosmic horror itself. Mere surface dressing, you may think, an aesthetic choice by the designers? Well, maybe not. Within Lovecraftian lore, Cthulhu is a great old one, a creature that can never be defeated in the conventional sense, only imprisoned, or possibly dismembered. The cosmic horror's power split between body parts, each one living on to terrorize the occupants of Terraria. Already we can deduce that once upon a time, the original champion of Terraria defeated the great god Cthulhu the best they could as the creature rose from the depths. All of which is in fact depicted in this concept art for the game. Sure, this art was speculated to be the concept for the final boss of Terraria, but what if it really depicts the epic battle that led to the present state of the game? A state caused by this character. But who is it? Could it be the old man? The clothier who once warned travellers from the dungeon where his master dwelt? No, he's got a story all of his own for another time. No, this is a character that helps you to craft your first set of armour. A character so important that he's intrinsically linked to the forces of light and night. The very first character you meet, the true hero of Terraria, is, of course, the guide. But he's useless, you might wail furiously. He couldn't survive a slime attack, let alone slay an elder god. Or could he? He brought you to this world, teaches you how to fight and craft, points you in the right direction, but why? Why could he not just do it himself? Because he is no longer able to. Okay, rewind. Story time! Long ago, in a land called Terraria, there lived a thriving village. One day, the cosmic deity Cthulhu rose from the ocean to threaten the peace. One champion rode out to face the horror, but upon finding it could not truly be killed, he tore its body asunder and banished the body parts. The victory was short-lived, however, as an eerie, bloody creep began coating the land, creating an alien environment that would become known as the Crimson. From the Crimson, two haunting eyes watched the village, craving vengeance. One night, a pair of huge disembodied eyes attacked the village, driving the people out. The lone villager, brave enough to remain, the guide, once more rode forth into the Crimson to seek out these terrifying twins. What he found chilled him to the bone. Deep inside the cavernous Crimson, he uncovered the brain of Cthulhu, masterminding the plot. Before he could dispatch this monstrosity, the twins were set upon him. Battling valiantly, he managed to slay one of the giant eyes and drove off the other, but it was too late. The brain had fled. Knowing he would not be able to destroy the mastermind outright, he searched for answers within the dungeon, conversing often with a mysterious old man who resided within. In this time, the guide's deeds were immortalized in paintings that came to ordain the walls of a dungeon. His encounter with Cthulhu's brain, his defeat of one of the twins. Eventually, he uncovered the truth that in ages past, the great old one Cthulhu was sent down to Terraria by his brother to bind the forces of light and take the world for himself. To do this, Cthulhu plotted with the creatures of the underworld to contain the light, going so far as to give them his own flesh to bind them. Knowing what was needed of him, the guide travelled through the great underground jungle to the underworld, where he gave his own soul to bind the forces of night, allowing the demonic creatures to keep an effigy of him to prevent him from ever going back to undo his pact. The crimson and evil of Cthulhu would remain, but their progress halted at least long enough for the guide to find another to succeed him and finish his work. Eventually he did, passing the mantle of Champion of Terraria to the player character as he gave his life when the time came so that the player could destroy the flesh of Cthulhu and unleash the bound powers of light and night so that the remaining twin and cerebral mastermind might be destroyed once and for all. Only the guide never expected to catch the attention of Cthulhu's brother and master, the Moon Lord, who would resurrect the slain creatures of Terraria as mechanical terrors, including the dreaded twins, before descending into the world himself, where the player would banish him back to the stars and finally restore balance to the world of Terraria. You may end up being known as the Champion of Terraria, but without the guide, none of your heroics could have ever happened. Without him, the entire world would have been enslaved by Cthulhu and the Moon Lord. Without his sacrifice, the land would be naught but crimson. You may be the champion, but he is the true hero of Terraria.